All right, let's dive into the world of cricket. You know we love digging into listener requests, and this one's all about cricket.
Yep, starting with that Wikipedia article on the history of cricket. A classic.
Definitely a great starting point. Cricket, for those who maybe haven't experienced its awesomeness.
Oh, it's a global phenomenon, no doubt. Over 1 billion fans worldwide.
Billion with a B. So, okay, first thing that jumped out at me. Cricket may have started as a kid's game way back in medieval England.
That's right. We've even got a court case from 1597. A witness actually said he played cricket as a schoolboy.
Hold on, 1597, that's wild. Talk about a history.
Back in the 1550s, no less. Imagine those kids just playing a game that would become, well, this.
And those theories about how it got its name are amazing, like from words for a crutch or staff.
Krijs or crick, or even the Dutch word kriekstoel, which was this low stool that people think looked like the wicket.
Okay, that's a visual I need to see. But it makes you wonder, how much has the game changed since those early days?
Oh, tons. That early version was way different from what we see today. Picture underarm bowling.
Underarm? Seriously?
Yeah, and a bat shaped like a hockey stick. Only 2 stumps for a wicket, too. Can you imagine?
Talk about a different game. So how'd it go from kids messing around to, like, the organized sport it is now?
Well, it really started taking off in the 17th century. But, not everyone was a fan.
Oh, I bet. Someone always has to rain on the parade.
You got it. The Puritans, they tried to ban it, called it profane if you played on Sundays.
Wow, talk about strict. Sundays were for rest, not cricket, I guess.
Right. And of course, gambling was already becoming a thing with cricket, so you could see their point.
It's fascinating how sports get tangled up with social values, huh? Like what's acceptable, what's not. It's all connected.
For sure. And luckily, cricket survived those early killjoys.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, huge comeback after the Restoration in 1660. King Charles II, big cricket fan,
Royal approval always helps.
No kidding. Plus, more and more people were betting on matches, so that fueled the popularity too.
It's like a perfect storm for cricket's growth. And I'm guessing that's when we start seeing the social divide in the sport, right? Like the wealthy folks getting involved.
Yeah, you start seeing these wealthy patrons setting up teams with professional players. A divide that's stuck around for a long, long time.
Interesting how those patterns repeat themselves, even in sports. And then things really start shifting in the 18th century, I bet.
Big time. Powerful clubs emerge, like the Hambledon Club. They were the team to beat, no question. And this is when the Marylebone Cricket Club, the MCC.
Your rule makers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Step in, set down the official rules. 3-stump wicket, that's them. LBW rule, yep, them too. They basically shaped the game as we know it.
Talk about influential. So by the 19th century, cricket's getting more organized, more serious. But I got to ask about those bowling styles. I read about underarm switching to round arm and then overarm. That must cause some argument.
Oh, huge controversy. Can you imagine trying to hit those early fast bowlers with a bat shaped like a hockey stick?
Yikes. That's a recipe for disaster. So the straight bat we see now, that was a direct response to these crazy bowling styles.
Absolutely. Bats had to evolve both for defense and to score runs. It's like a constant back and forth between bowlers and batters, each one pushing the other to adapt.
That's cool. It's like this evolutionary arms race playing out on the cricket field. And as the game's getting more organized, I bet we start seeing those county-level competitions pop up.
You got it. Those county competitions were a big deal. Eventually led to the official county championship in 1890, a major turning point.
Cricket's becoming the sport in England by this point. But it couldn't stay contained forever, right? It was bound to go global.
Oh, for sure. And get this, the first ever international cricket match was between the U.S. and Canada back in 1844.
Wait, seriously, the U.S. played cricket?
Yeah, and we lost. Canada took the win.
Yeah.
But it was the British Empire that really took cricket worldwide.
Makes sense. With their reach all over the globe, cricket kind of went along for the ride.
Right. English team tours North America in 1859. Then in 1868, an all-Aboriginal team from Australia tours England. Just incredible to think about.
Talk about spreading the love of the game. And those early tours must have been such a cultural exchange, too.
Absolutely. Different styles of play, different approaches to the game. You can see how those early encounters shaped the sport's development.
So we got to talk about the Ashes. That England-Australia rivalry is legendary.
Oh, yeah. The Ashes is the rivalry in cricket. Born in 1882, after Australia's first victory on English soil. It's still fiercely contested today.
Fans go crazy for it, right?
Absolutely. It captures the imagination like no other series. And, when we talk about legendary players and big moments, the 20th century brings us Don Bradman, The name is synonymous with batting brilliance.
I've heard the stories. That batting average of his, it's almost superhuman.
99.94, almost mythical. But that dominance, it led to some interesting tactics, let's say. The body line controversy in the 1932-33 Ashes.
Oh, yeah, I read about that. England bowlers aiming at the batsman's body, right?
Yep, almost caused a diplomatic incident. Really brought up the whole question of winning at all costs versus playing fair.
It's amazing how a game can become so intense, so politically charged. Makes you think.
Cricket's got a way of reflecting those deeper tensions. And it's remarkable that even with those controversies, the game kept evolving. More Test cricket nations, the birth of limited overs cricket.
Right. Post-World War II, we see India, Pakistan, the West Indies, New Zealand joining the Test scene. Cricket's reach is expanding.
Absolutely. And then in 1963, English counties come up with limited overs cricket, a total game changer.
I can see why. Faster pace, guaranteed a result. Fans loved it.
And who knew it would lead to the first Cricket World Cup in 1975? A shorter format designed to fit into a day becomes a global phenomenon.
It's wild how these innovations take on a life of their own. And of course, we can't forget about the 21st century and the T20 explosion.
T20, oh man, it's been a whirlwind. Super fast, super exciting. And those franchise leagues like the IPL and Big Bash, they brought in a whole new wave of fans.
It's mind-blowing how cricket has gone from those early days to over 1 billion followers worldwide. It's a true global force.
Absolutely. A sport with a past, a present, and a future that's brighter than ever.
But you know, with all this talk of history and global reach, I think our listener might appreciate a quick breakdown of the basics. Like, how does this game actually work on the field?
Oh, for sure. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of cricket. The field, the players, the whole shebang. All right, picture this. You've got this big oval-shaped field, right? And in the middle, there's this rectangular strip. That's the pitch. It's where the action happens.
Okay, the pitch. So that's where the batters and bowlers face off.
Exactly. And at each end of the pitch, you've got the wickets. 3 wooden stumps with 2 little bails on top.
Right, the wickets. They always look so fragile, like one good hit and they're gone.
That's the idea. The bowler's trying to knock those bails off, and the batter's trying to protect them while scoring runs.
Got it. So how does a cricket match actually start?
Well, first things first, there's a coin toss. The captain who wins the toss gets to decide if they want to bat or bowl first.
Okay, so one team's out there batting while the other team's trying to get them out.
You got it. Each team's turn to bat is called an innings.
Innings, okay. So is it always just one inning per team?
It depends on the format of the match. Some, like test matches, have 2 innings per side.
2 innings, so they get 2 chances to bat and 2 chances to bowl.
Exactly. But other formats, like ODIs and T20s, they only have 1 inning per side.
Ah, so the format really dictates the structure of the whole match, and the goal is just to score more runs than the other team, right?
You got it. Highest score at the end wins. But there's a little twist in those formats with 2 innings. To win outright, you got to dismiss all 10 of the opposing batters in at least one of their innings.
Okay, so you have to wipe out the whole team at least once.
Yep. Otherwise, the match could end in a draw.
A draw. So it's like a tie is possible but rare,
Right.
while a draw is more common.
Exactly. Now let's focus on the action. On the pitch, you'll see 2 batters from the batting team. One facing the bowler and the other waiting at the opposite end.
Right. They're kind of facing each other like it's a duel.
It's a showdown, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Now the batter who's facing the bowler, they've got to make a decision. Attack or defend?
So it's more than just hitting the ball as hard as they can.
Oh, way more. A good batter can score in so many ways. Big shots, delicate touches, finding gaps in the field. It's like a mix of power, timing, and strategy.
It's like chess, but with a bat and ball. And all the while, the fielders are trying to catch the ball or get the batter out, right?
Exactly. They're a crucial part of the game. And there are a bunch of ways a batter can be dismissed. One of the most common is bowled. That's when the bowler hits the wicket directly and knocks those bails off.
Oh, okay. So that's a direct hit. Makes sense. What about catching the ball? No, that's a big deal in cricket.
Huge. It's called caught, and a fielder has to catch the ball before it bounces after the batter hits it.
Catching it before it bounces, that seems way harder than in baseball.
It definitely adds a layer of difficulty. Fielders have to be positioned much closer to the batter, super alert and ready to react.
Wow, it's like a constant pressure cooker for those fielders. What about that LBW thing I've heard about?
Leg before wicket. That one can be a bit tricky.
I bet. What exactly is it?
Basically, if the ball would have hit the wicket, but the batter's leg gets in the way, they can be given out LBW.
So the umpire has to judge whether the ball was going to hit the wicket.
Right. There's a lot of interpretation involved, which can make things pretty intense.
I bet. And run out. That's another one I've heard of. What happens there?
Okay, so imagine the batters are running between the wickets trying to score runs. If a fielder manages to hit the wicket with the ball before either batter gets back to their end, that's a run out.
So it's a race against time. The batters are trying to make it back before the fielder can get the ball to the wicket.
Exactly. Lots of close calls and dramatic moments there. And then there's stumped, which involves the wicket keeper.
The wicket keeper, right. They're the ones right behind the batter, kind of like a catcher in baseball.
Yep. So if the batter misses the ball and they're out of their crease, the wicket keeper can whip those bails off the stumps before the batter can get back.
Oh, I see. It's like a sneak attack by the wicket keeper.
You could say that. They have to be lightning fast and have great anticipation.
So we've got all these ways to get a batter out, but I'm still curious about those different bowling styles. You mentioned fast bowlers, but what other kinds are there?
Well, besides the speedsters, you've got seam bowlers.
Seam bowlers.
Yeah. They might not be as fast as the pure fast bowlers, but they're masters at using the seam of the ball.
The seam, you mean those raised stitches on the ball?
That's right. They make the ball move in unpredictable ways after it bounces.
So they're using the ball's design to their advantage? That's clever.
It's all about control and precision. A good seam bowler can really mess with the batter's timing.
It makes me think of those fielders positioned close behind the batter. Are they there to catch those edges off the bat?
You got it. They're called the slips. They're basically waiting for those faint nicks off the bat, and they need lightning reflexes because those catches can be super tricky.
Wow, it's like a specialized art form being a slip fielder. Okay, so we've got fast bowlers, we've got seam bowlers. What about spinners? What makes them so special?
Spin bowlers. Oh, they're the tricksters of the game. They bowl slower than the fast bowlers, but they use their fingers and wrist to make the ball spin.
Spin, so they're making the ball curve in the air like a curveball in baseball.
It's a bit different. Spin bowling is all about what happens after the ball bounces. The spin makes it turn sharply, either towards or away from the batter.
Oh, so they're using the bounce to create these unpredictable movements. That's cool.
Right. And a good spinner has a whole arsenal of different deliveries, each with its own spin and movement.
Sounds like a batter's worst nightmare.
It can be, especially later in a match when the pitch starts to wear down and get a bit uneven. Spinners can really exploit those inconsistencies.
So they're using the condition of the pitch to their advantage.
You got it. Makes things even more challenging for the batter.
Cricket is so layered. It's incredible. And we haven't even talked about the fielders yet. They must play a huge role too, right?
Absolutely. We've got the slips, but there are fielders all around the ground, each one with a specific name and a specific job.
Like what?
Well, you've got those close-in fielders like Silly Mid-Off and Silly Point.
Wait, Silly Mid-Off? What's so silly about it?
The names might sound a bit funny, but trust me, those are serious positions. Those fielders are standing incredibly close to the batter, so they need nerves of steel and lightning reflexes.
They're right in the line of fire.
Exactly. And then you've got the outfielders patrolling the boundary and trying to save runs.
So it's kind of like baseball in a way. Infielders and outfielders covering different areas.
Kind of. But the way they move and react is very different. And just like in baseball, a great catch or a perfect throw from the outfield can totally change the course of a match.
It's amazing how every single player on the field has a specific role to play.
That's what makes cricket such a team sport. It's not just about the individual battles. It's about everyone working together to achieve a common goal.
I love that. It's like a symphony of skill, strategy, and teamwork all happening on this one field. And it's not just about what happens on the field either, right? Cricket has this whole cultural side to it.
Oh, absolutely. It's more than just a sport in so many countries.
Yeah.
It's a way of life.
I've heard stories about cricket matches bringing entire countries to a standstill.
It's true. Especially in places like India, Australia, England, cricket is woven into their culture, their identity.
Wow, it's like a Super Bowl times 1,000.
Yeah.
And that cultural impact, it goes beyond just the fans, right?
Definitely. Cricket has inspired writers, artists, even musicians. Think about it. You've got books like C.L.R. James' Beyond a Boundary, one of the most celebrated sports books of all time.
So it's inspiring serious literature.
Oh, yeah. James uses cricket as a way to explore social and political issues. It's a deep dive into history and culture.
Cricket as a lens for understanding the world. That's powerful.
And visually, you've got amazing paintings like Kent versus Lancashire and the cricketers capturing those iconic moments, the atmosphere of the game.
Wow, cricket's literally a work of art.
It's everywhere, in galleries, in stadiums, in everyday conversations. And you know what's surprising? Its influence on other sports.
Wait, cricket has influenced other sports? How?
Well, there's a strong link between cricket and Australian rules football.
Really?
Yeah. Tom Wills, one of the guys who created Aussie rules, he was a cricket player. Wanted a way to keep players fit during the off-season.
So cricket is like the granddaddy of Aussie rules. That's awesome.
And a bunch of English football clubs, like Derby County, Aston Villa, they were started by cricketers too, looking for ways to stay active during the winter months.
No way. Cricket's reach goes way beyond the cricket field. It's like it's sown the seeds for other sports to grow.
Exactly. And get this, there's even a connection to baseball.
Baseball? You're kidding. How?
So this guy, Henry Chadwick, English cricketer, he moves to the U.S., and basically revolutionizes baseball. Introduces the box score based on the cricket scorecard.
No way. So cricket is partly responsible for how we track baseball stats today. That's wild.
It's true. Cricket's legacy is all over the place. It's a testament to how influential and adaptable this game really is.
It's mind-blowing. And it makes me appreciate cricket on a whole new level. It's so much more than just bats and balls and wickets. It's a cultural force.
It's global, it's historic, it's got its own language, and it's constantly evolving. What's not to love?
Okay, we're back and ready to wrap up this incredible journey into the world of cricket. We've covered so much ground. From its medieval origins to its global impact, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, we've really gotten into the heart of this sport. The history, the rules, those quirky terms, the cultural side of it. Cricket's got it all.
Speaking of those quirky terms, I've always been fascinated by the phrase maiden over. What exactly does that mean? I know it has something to do with bowling, but...
A maiden over. Well, it's a thing of beauty. It's an over where the bowler doesn't give up a single run, not one.
Wow, so it's like a perfect defensive stand for the bowler.
Exactly. It's all about precision, control, and keeping that batter guessing. A real test of skill.
It's going to be a huge morale boost for the bowler too, right? Like, I've got this.
Oh, absolutely. And it can put a ton of pressure on the batter, like, okay, I got to break this streak.
You know, it's funny, thinking about all these unique cricket terms, it's like they have their own secret language.
Yeah, it's a language that's evolved over centuries. Each term tells a story about the game's history, the way it's played, the people who've shaped it.
It's amazing how a sport can have such a rich vocabulary. It's like a whole cultural phenomenon wrapped up in these words and phrases. And speaking of cultural phenomena, we've talked about how T20 has really shaken things up in the cricket world. Do you think it's the future of the game?
It's a great question, and one that's been debated endlessly among cricket fans. There's no doubt T20 has brought in a whole new audience. The fast-paced action, the excitement, the shorter format. It's appealing to people who maybe wouldn't have the time or patience for a 5-day test match.
Right. It's like the instant gratification generation of cricket.
Exactly. But I don't think test cricket is going anywhere anytime soon.
Oh.
It's still the ultimate test of skill, endurance, and strategy. And for a lot of purists, it's the real deal, the true heart of cricket.
I see what you mean. It's like T20 is the flashy new sports car, all speed and excitement, but Test cricket, that's the classic vintage car. Timeless, elegant, and still a thrill to drive.
I like that analogy. And, there's room for both in the world of cricket. They appeal to different fans, different players. The challenge is finding ways to keep both formats thriving, to make sure cricket stays relevant and exciting for everyone.
Right. It's all about striking that balance, respecting the traditions while embracing innovation. And who knows, maybe we'll see some even more radical changes to the game in the years to come. Cricket's already gone through so many transformations, from those early days with the hockey stick bats to the modern game.
Oh, for sure. Cricket has this amazing ability to adapt and evolve. We've already seen T10, the 100, these new formats that are pushing the boundaries even further. Who knows what's next? Maybe virtual reality cricket. Drone-assisted fielding.
The possibilities are endless, but one thing's for sure, cricket will always be this captivating blend of skill, strategy, and pure passion. And I think our listener, after this deep dive, is ready to experience it all on a whole new level.
Absolutely. They've got the knowledge, the context, the lingo. They can watch a match and really understand what's going on, appreciate the nuances. They can join in those heated debates about the future of the game, maybe even pick up a bat and ball themselves and give it a go.
And that's what we love about the deep dive. It's all about sparking that curiosity, giving you the tools to explore these fascinating topics, and make them your own. So a huge thank you to our listener for suggesting this deep dive.
It's been a blast.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us. Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive. Cheers.